This episode is sponsored by Exactuals, perfecting insurance payments and the data driving them. What is entertainment insurance?
So entertainment insurance, when people talk about entertainment insurance, they talk about insuring filmed and live entertainment. So think about movies, TV show, Broadway, so theatrical performances, concerts, even touring, right? So you have your musicians going on tour, things like that. So even it could be as small as commercials, right? So little 30-second commercials, or even online commercials, to big budget, $500 million, studio projects. And it's all about ensuring the movie making, the actual production process. So whatever it takes to make that movie, right? All those insurances that are tied into that, whether it's the physical movie making process or the content, right? Like the actual idea of the movie or the script, right? Those will be part of that insurance package that you normally get on a film or TV insurance policy. When it comes to live theatrical, it's similar, but there's other things that you're insuring, like lost revenues, right? So if your sets burn down or somebody gets injured and you have to cancel, some performances, you have lost revenues there, which is a little bit different than what you would get normally on your, production and TV side of things.
So what does it mean to insure the script? Because I can imagine, yeah.
So, yeah. E&O insurance, right? Errors and omissions.
Yeah.
So imagine this, right? So in Hollywood, right, everybody wants to make a movie, right? People come to LA from all over the world. They have a great idea, the world's best idea, such a great idea for a show, for a movie, for this, that, whatever. They meet some guy at a bar and he says, "Oh yeah, I'm a producer." He goes, "Oh wow, I have a great idea. I'm going to tell you about my movie. And it has to do with spaceships and aliens and blah, 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 whatever," right? The guy says, "That sounds okay, but not interested." And then a year later, the guy goes and makes a movie about spaceships and aliens and whatever. And the guy says, "Wait a second, that's my idea. I told you my idea. What do you mean? Don't you remember? You said you hated it. And now you made it. Now it's a blockbuster. You make $100 million movie. I'm going to sue you because you stole my idea." Right? Or even better, say you're making a movie about the spaceships and the aliens and whatever, and you want to call it Star Wars. Right? You can't do that. Right? So you got to get a title report. You get an E&O policy. To protect the theft of idea, the title infringement, copyright infringement, all of those things. And even in the case of, say, just very basic, like reality television, right? You have people running around with cameras filming people in the streets. Well, if you don't have permission to film me, I'm sitting in the background on the patio, having lunch somewhere, right? And now all of a sudden I'm on a TV show. Well, nobody made me sign a release. I didn't give you my permission to put me on a TV show. So there could be a lot of problems like that in terms of rights, releases, or if you're doing a commercial. I think there was just a lawsuit on I don't know if it was a TikTok video. I don't know, it was some video, maybe it was a YouTube thing, where somebody was doing a dance or whatever, and they were playing some music, right? And then somebody bought that clip, and then they used that in some ad for something else, but the musician never signed off on it, right? So they never bought the rights from the music, right? So now they're using music without permission in a commercial, right? Without paying for it. Well, that's a problem, So there's all sorts of different challenges when it comes to, ensuring the idea and those things. But there are lawyers that specialize in that, and we work closely with them and the producers and the filmmakers to make sure that they are, doing all the proper clearances and following the proper guidelines to make sure that any of those things are minimized.
Wow. How do you understand the risk, and what do you usually sell as the basic package?
So normally, the primary policy that we deal with, we'll talk about film, television, not so much live theatrical, because that's really what we're talking about here, is the production package policy, right? Your production package is a niche policy for productions that covers your cast, right? Your cast members, the actors, prop sets, wardrobe, equipment, third-party property damage, so for your locations that you're renting, extra expense if you get shut down. And here's one thing that it also covers. It covers civil authority, right? So civil authority is where a lot of the COVID claims were covered back in March of 2020 and then throughout the rest of the year, in that our policy only requires you to be shut down by a governmental authority, right? It doesn't need physical property damage in order for there to be a trigger of coverage. So as long as you get shut down, boom, you have coverage. So that's really where a lot of insurance companies got hit with claims back in COVID. But now, as productions are getting back up and running, we are we are part of the, we work with the underwriters, and part of the underwriting process, right, is really finding out where are they filming, how long are they filming, who are their main cast members. Are they older or younger, right? Because COVID affects older individuals, worse than younger, which is, problematic from an insurance standpoint, and things like that. So depending on where they're filming, if there's a COVID hotspot or not or whatever, it's still going to be very, challenging to get insurance. All the policies going forward, they have new exclusions, right? So they're not covering any COVID claims. But even with the new exclusions, they're still asking you a ton of questions because, an insurance company does not want to get on the risk for a movie if there's going to be a pause, and then it's going to be, shut down for a couple of days, and they got to go back and then shut down again. And it gets very, drawn out, and that the longer it takes to make the movie, the more exposure they have as an insurance company, right? Because if you think about it, when you make a movie, you have pre-production, when everybody's getting their stuff ready. Then you have filming, principal photography, which is a month and a half, 2 months, and that's it. Then you're done. Yalla, finished, right? So as you have more and more of these stops, you take your 4 weeks, and now it becomes 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, right? And if something happens to one of those actors that you're insuring, right, it could be a problem.
So now in COVID, what happened? What's the effect? Because I'm sure most of those businesses got interrupted.
So what happened was a lot of films got shut down last year, but now they're coming back up, right? Because the different parts of the world are opening up. They have safety procedures. They're doing the testing. They're doing all sorts of things to make sure that they could go back into production in a safe manner, right? So now you're seeing a lot of those, and we saw this a lot back in November and December of last year, where there was almost like a rush to make movies. It was like, all right, we're back up. Let's go make 2 movies before the end of the year, 3 movies before the end of the year. Let's get things going, And it was, because there was such a big pause in the pipeline of content, right? When everybody shuts down for 6 months, well, how many, if everybody's at home watching Netflix and YouTube and Amazon, you're running out of episodes, We need season 3 and 4 and 5. Let's go. Let's get back up and running. And you see that there was almost like a sense of urgency to get back into production. I'm on a Zoom. Thank you. That's my daughter, which happens all the time. Of course, now people are back into production, and everybody has to be careful. Sometimes they want to make a movie in the UK, but now the UK is shutting down, so they go to another country, or they're in Colombia, but then there's this. So it's really it's always so many moving pieces. Moving pieces.
How did that affect their budget?
It went up by a lot, right? So if you have, it's one thing, the insurance cost alone, probably went from 1% of the budget to at least 1.75, maybe 2%, maybe higher depending on the budget size, right? And these are for movies normally above like $5 million in budget. If you're making a movie with a budget less than $5 million, then that percentage is gonna go up. There's not a lot of insurance companies with the limited resources they have. They don't want to do a lot of the smaller budgets, so it's a little bit harder to get quotes for that. and it's more expensive than normal. But besides the insurance cost, you have all the costs for all the PPE and all the sanitizers and the gloves and the masks and the testing, right? Because now they have to test every 3 days or something like that. So, you're seeing budgets increase by a substantial amount. I think it's like 10 to 20%, depending on the size of the overall budget, just for all of those COVID-related costs. You have to hire a COVID safety officer, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody making sure that everybody's socially distanced, that they don't have some random guest coming on with no mask, whatever, that the cast are staying away from everybody, things like that, the things that are being properly cleaned. So it's really challenging. Because before, mm-hmm. Maybe in March, you had all of the money you needed for your movie, then you shut down, and all of a sudden your $10 million movie is now $12 million. Uh-oh. Or 1.1 million. Now you got to go raise another, $1 million or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that recently we heard about Tom Cruise meltdown because someone broke protocol and he was like, mm-hmm. Yeah, he was reaching.
If you think about it, one crew member, right? And he works on very big movies, right? Where you have hundreds and hundreds of people working. One guy who doesn't follow protocol could infect the entire crew. You understand? And then you're shut down. And then the whole production is delayed. And people have to work, right? So if you're shutting down, are they getting paid? Are they not getting paid? Are they getting furloughed? Who knows when they're going back up? And there's significant things at stake if, when people don't follow the proper protocol, And, with my clients that I've seen, they have been very strict and doing a really good job of really isolating their productions from the surrounding areas. I had a client, they made a movie in Montana. They had another client that was going to make a movie in New York, in Manhattan, but then they moved it to upstate. I think it was like 2 hours north of Manhattan in like a little town. And they kind of took over a hotel for, the shooting period, kept all the crew like the one same place. And things like that they're doing it to minimize potential outside interactions and exposures.
So you're acting as the broker. How did who are the underwriters that take the risk?
So your primary insurance companies, you only have about a handful that do it. Now I'll talk about the U.S. markets, not necessarily the international. But you have Allianz, which is Fireman's Fund. You have Chubb, that used to be one of the biggest entertainment, insurance writers. Now they're very, very conservative. You have Hiscox, you have ProSite, you have One Beacon, and those are kind of the combination of the carriers that we kind of run into.
And everything is based on a relationship, especially with the customers, because you've been in the business for about 20 years.
Yeah, so, the broker underwriter relationship is so important to benefit the client, right? Yes, the client has a relationship with the insurance company as well, right? By not having claims, by doing a lot of movies with the same insurance company, right? A good track record. Because during these times, your relationship is so important. Because what happens is that when you have trust, right, that your underwriter is going to, properly underwrite a film, that I as a broker am going to properly represent what's happening on the film, right? I don't say, oh, it's a romantic comedy, and next thing you know, it's Rambo Part 21, they're blowing everything up, right? It's very different. You have that relationship where there's that trust, and they want to help you. They want to help you and your client get to a product that, kind of makes everybody happy. Sometimes it doesn't work that way, depending on the circumstances, but it's really, about how do we get to a good middle ground that works for everyone. So where, I have a client that makes a lot of films in Puerto Rico, okay? A lot of films in Puerto Rico, and there's only really one insurance company that will do an insurance for a movie, a production package policy in Puerto Rico. And we get a quote and it is like double what the client budgeted. And the client's like, Rabibo, you're killing me. What are you doing? I can't do that. I can't make a movie. This is nuts. So I called the underwriter. Okay, listen, here, back and forth, whatever. And then finally, they say, okay, well, we could lower it, but we need to raise the deductibles. Okay, fine. The client's happy because now we got our pricing down to where they can actually make their movie without going crazy. And the deductibles are at a point where the insurance company could validate the lower cost because now they have like a really big hurdle to come over before they pay any claims, right? So you're working on that, on the relationship to find a balance that works for everyone, because you can't always be asking, taking. It has to go both ways, and you really need, and really the relationship benefits the client so much because a lot of times they don't see what's happening behind the scenes. They call me saying, Daniel, I'm making a movie, get me insurance. They don't see the 20 phone calls and Zooms and, all the things that are happening behind the scenes, negotiating and leveraging and comparing and this and that. They just see the final product, right? And they say, okay, here we go. Thanks, Rabibo, right? That's it. But before we get to that thanks, there's a lot of difficult conversations and discussions and negotiations that are taking place.
I love the fact that it's the same value proposition that almost any broker and agent that I speak with is providing. It doesn't matter if they are focusing on small business enterprise or large products in the millions or tens or hundreds of millions. It's still that I'm going to make sure that there is a win-win-win situation between the customer, the policyholder, the underwriter, and of course, everyone in between. Because sometimes, and I think that part of your understanding is also the legal elements, the business, how things work. And many business owners, because they need to focus on the business, they forget about all the things that behind it. Now, let me ask you something different. So I've been running InsurTech Los Angeles for 4 years, and this is the main thing, is the InsurTech, is the technology that helps insurance. Is there a space that we can help? Is there a technology that can help you do your job better or your customers to receive a better service?
Honestly, it's not. So here's the thing is when it comes to technology and entertainment insurance, right? Entertainment is so specialized. It's not like other kinds of insurance where I could go by myself and fill out a form online and boom, I get a quote, like auto insurance or homeowners or umbrella or even life insurance, right? I go online in 20 minutes, I get a quote, I'm approved. Yeah, mazel tov, right? Doesn't happen that way, right? You have to go through the broker, and the broker, I complete the application on behalf of my clients 9 times out of 10, except for E&O applications. But for the movie, I fill it out, I get all the documentation, I review it first. So because there's still a lot of that hand-holding process, right? And all of the systems that the underwriters use are different, right? There's not like one say, oh, I just drop it in this email box and boom, everybody gets my submission. I'm emailing every single individual insurance company separately, right? So I don't know if there's a way to automate it, right? To get to a point where I just click send and then boom, it goes out. That'd be nice, but it's I don't think it's gonna get there. And even if you do that, how much time are you really saving? Because you're still doing that one application, right? So it's not like a website where you could just go, I want to go shop 100 auto insurance, and I click send, and boom, I get 100 insurance quotes.
And that's perfect because, by the way, to automate the email and to blast it to everyone, that's super simple. You can even do that today with all the tools that you have on your Outlook. But it's a perfect example because not everything is ready to be automated, or you need something which is tailored for the specific problem. Fantastic. I'm sure that within the underwriter there will be they will have an idea of how can they minimize their risk and provide all kinds of small tools. We talked earlier about COVID, so breaking COVID, or what we call breaking the protocol, or what people consider as parametric insurance, because once there is something, there is a delay in a day, okay, the claim is done automatically and then you get paid. There is a technology somewhere behind the scene.
You know, a lot of our clients do some crazy things when they're filming, right? So whether it's, you know, a commercial and they're doing skydiving, right? It's, oh, we want to film, we're going to put a camera here, you know. Last week or a couple weeks ago, one of our clients said, hey, we're going to be filming a commercial with kids and we're using this new technology, okay? It's a robotic arm that holds the camera. You put the person in the middle and then the thing swings around like really fast to capture, and then you can replay it in slow motion and all that stuff. She said, hey, what happens if the arm breaks and it rips off the head of the kid or something like that? I said, I don't know, you know, like that's a little crazy, but let me take a look, you know, and see. But in the end, they changed the camera, you know, that they were going to use, and they were going to use that you know, that device. But you know, it's kind of all over the place. You know, I have clients now that are filming a movie with a lot of old aircraft, old airplanes, right? It's a war movie, you know, so there are people flying and doing all sorts of stuff. But I don't know, what kind of crazy stuff have I done recently?
Yeah, apparently that sounds crazy enough for me. For you, it's like another day at the office.
That's it. You know, it really doesn't come up so much, you know, because when you want to do something really crazy, a lot of times it's very expensive to do it the right way, you know, and they say, you know what, we'll do it in post-production. We want him to go jumping, we're not going to have him jump. We'll just make him look like he jumped. We'll rent a sound stage for a day. We'll get him on a wire. We'll make him go like this, and then we'll film him from the bottom, and then we're done, you know.
So is post-production, is that the magic word nowadays? We'll just
visual effects. Visual effects, that's the magic word.
CGI, everything is going there. We'll give you a green screen and you'll jump.
Yeah, and you do it safe, you know.
Oh, that's an interesting value for the insurance companies. Let's invest in special effects.
You know, we give the insurance company, the underwriter, we give them the script. Oh. And then they come back with questions and say, hey, are you guys doing this for real, or are you guys doing this in post, right? In post-production. So a lot of times we say post, right? Sometimes they do the real thing, but they look and they ask, and that's a big deal, right? Because if you're doing everything on a computer, then your risk is a lot lower, and then your pricing should be lower, and your terms should be better than if you're doing everything for real, you know?
How did you get into insurance?
Ooh, that's a good one. I was an IT guy back in the year 2000 at a company called
that's a boom.
Yeah. At a company called Aon. I was the IT guy for about 1.5 years or 2 years, something like that. And one of the head guys over there, who happens to be the managing director now at Arthur J. Gallagher, he says, hey, why don't you come into insurance? You know, I'll teach you the business. And I said, all right, sign me up. That's the short story. Anyway,
Daniel, thank you very, very, very much for your time, knowledge, and anecdotes about the industry.
My pleasure. It was great talking to you.
Likewise.